One of the most common weapon-related questions I see in Call of the Wild comes in two forms. Is the 303 better than the M1? Or, to phrase it more generally, what is the best weapon for grinding whitetail? So today we're officially going to test what I consider the three best medium game weapons: the 303 British, the M1 which fires 30-06 ammunition, and the 30-06 Eckers, which of course does as well. Now, we're out here on MedVed for this because after a ton of testing, brown bears seem to be the best species for what I'd like to do, which I'll explain a bit more later in the video. Firstly, we're going to go for double lung shots at 75 meters with polymer tip bullets, trying to make the shots as similar as possible and compare quick kill to determine which rifle has the most power. And we'll start with the 30-06 Eckers. So, at 76.15 meters, we ended up with 70.83% quick kill, which honestly is not bad. Brown bear are a class 7 animal, and of course all three of these weapons are rated for classes 4 to 8, so towards the upper end of what they're capable of, it was still pretty efficient. Let's try the M1 next. Pretty similar shot distance actually, 76.43 meters this time. I'm quite happy with that, but we see a slightly lower quick kill at 67.5%. It's not a major difference, but I would assume that's outside the margin of error. Probably similar shots between these two guns, the Eckers is going to have a better quick kill basically every time. But anyway, on to the 303. Now I tried, and I simply could not get a double lung shot at this angle. Despite the 30-06 and 303 ammo having the same penetration stat of 40, it just simply was not happening. The two bears we double lunged with the 30-06 calibers were both first tries, so did I get really lucky there, or am I getting extremely unlucky now? I kinda doubt it. We've seen in the past, ammo stats just don't always tell the whole story, so I'm guessing the 303 itself just doesn't quite have the same penetration as the other two rifles. I was, however, able to play around with angles and, at a similar shot distance, managed a double lung shot still. Now, that is what I'd call a significant difference, a quick kill percentage of 83.06, with actually the farthest shot of the three at 76.81 meters, and it makes sense. We just saw on the ammo stats that the 303 ammo does have a slightly higher expansion stat of 12, higher by exactly 1, and that would cause more damage to the organs we hit. That said, I've got to put an asterisk next to that one, as it didn't seem to have the ease of actually hitting both lungs to get that quick kill stat that it got. That test was interesting, however, we can learn a bit more by using soft point rounds in a similar test. This time we want a single lung, and we're going from 150 meters, as I find that it ends up giving us similar quick kill numbers to the first test with the polymer tip rounds. While we do that, I'd like to explain a few things, including the change to 150 meters a bit more in depth. So, why are we shooting brown bears, and specifically female brown bears to begin with? Well, a couple of reasons. I wanted to find a species that always landed us between 0 and 100% quick kill with all three weapons using both ammo types, and the reason for that is, let's say we tested with the red deer. The 303 tends to get 100% quick kill, even at long range using the soft point bullets. The other two rifles, not so much. Having one rifle hit that maximum, or even if it was reversed and hit the minimum, it wouldn't do as good a job as showing the true difference between the rifles. The way the quick kill works is that you start to lose percentage points after 8 seconds. So if a 30-06 brought down the red deer in just over 8 seconds and got, say, 99% quick kill, the 303 could bring it down in 1 second and only show 1% higher. For that reason, I went with brown bears, as I never saw a 0 or 100% quick kill in all my testing. As for only shooting female brown bears, there are model differences between the male and female bears, and that might mean hitboxes differ as well. In order to stay consistent and not risk messing up the test, I went with the ones I seem to find more easily, which, in this case, were the female bears. Hopefully this clarifies the reasoning, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer them. In the meantime, we've tested all three rifles with soft point rounds, so what do we see? Expectedly similar results, with the 303 having the best quick kill at 75%, the Eckers having the second best at 70.83%, which oddly enough is exactly the same as its polymer tip test number, and the M1 just behind it at 69.72%. As far as power goes, I think the 303 comes out on top, although that lack of penetration was a little concerning. It's worth restating, brown bears are a class 7 animal, and realistically, you could use a rifle like the 338 or 300 for them. For species in that class 6 range that those larger calibers can't cover, the 303 wouldn't have that problem. However, the Eckers definitely deserves a mention, as it performed quite well and better than I expected. Last thing, I thought we'd test the fire rate as well, as I think that really does factor in, especially when grinding. So I've set up a macro to continuously click in order to eliminate as much human error as possible. Since the Eckers only has a 4-round capacity compared to the 5 rounds the 303 and M1 hold, I'll time it out from the frame the first shot is fired to the frame the fourth shot is fired. Here's what that looks like. There is literally only a 1 frame difference between the 303 and the Eckers, which I think was most likely my error in timing, or possibly even an error in recording. It would make the most sense to me that the fire rate of the bolt action rifles, and probably a lot of the bolt action rifles in game, are the same. So that leaves the M1, which was clearly much faster with that 4-shot time of 1.3 seconds. That fire rate, when coupled with its reasonable power, is why I tend to consider the M1 the best of the bunch. It comes down to the fact that when used on animals towards the bottom of that range, class 4 specifically, it tends to drop them in their tracks or only have them run a couple of meters. When it can do that, while also having the capability to take down 2, sometimes 3 animals before they even begin to flee, it just can't be matched in terms of grinding utility. All that said, if you only want to shoot 1 animal at a time with a more relaxed playstyle, or just want to carry 1 bigger rifle on a map like Layton Lakes that doesn't require any class 9 coverage, I think the 303 and Eckers 30-06 are still fantastic options. I personally tend to pick the M1 when crafting a loadout, but I think this test clearly showed all 3 rifles to be great options, with each having their own strong points and purposes. If there are other weapons in similar classes you guys would like to see compared, let me know in the comments below. I really enjoyed this and would love to see what else we can find out through future videos like this. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.